Okay, well, welcome back, everybody. This is Mike Schumann. I'm here with Marta Reese again. So this is our...
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me, Marta?
Yes.
Okay, great. So, so welcome back. We're going to finish up the emotional hierarchy today. So just a little recap about what we've been through. This is our fifth call for the the most meaningful conversation series, but it's our third recording for the emotional hierarchy exercise. So, we started all the way down at the scale at guilt, and we stopped the first time between, I think it was between courage and trust, somewhere around there. And then we went into trust, and all kinds of funky things happened with the recording. And we decided, and we decided to, stop at trust. That was kind of where we were feeling like, okay, that's something that really needs to be addressed here. I think not just between, not just what we're going through right now, but also possibly the listener might be having a challenge, really owning trust so that we can go into willingness. Marta, what has the last couple of weeks been like for you? So we're actually recording this, I think, 2 or 3 weeks later. Do you feel willing to start at between trust and willingness today? Do you feel like that is a good place to start? Good.
It is, because I've done some preparatory work in the last 2 weeks with, embracing trust and what does trust mean. And as you know from the other calls, I like to look upwards and just kind of wonder and ponder a little bit about whether or not I know what the word means. And so I was surprised what I discovered around, me personally and trust. So a lot of it was around control.
Yes. So what happened? So you felt a block last time. So we were here a couple of weeks later. What helped you to move past that block in that time? We've had a couple of calls offline or that weren't recorded. Sure. But what happened between then and now that now you're ready to move on?
Well, immediately after feeling kind of stuck where I was, I got off the phone and started journaling, started inquiring about, trust and why is it, why am I stuck there? What's underneath it all? And then had a conversation with you offline, right? So we weren't recording it, but we were using the scale, and that immediately propelled me forward as well. Yeah. Which, is testament to the power of doing all of these things that we're doing with that scale.
That repetition, yes.
And then one of the, a funny little thing happened, which was I was commenting and providing some information on a Facebook page that was about 432 hertz, music in 432 hertz. And what was interesting is that I was sharing with people that, my husband tunes and records and performs his music in 432. And isn't that cool? And the administrator of the page actually, in a very condescending tone, I observed, said, personally I don't listen to low vibration music. And then he said, please read Power versus Force, which I thought, oh, this is interesting. So I did let him know that I am talking about 432, and I don't hertz, and I don't consider that low vibration. Now, if the genre of music is something that you're not aligned with, that's great. There's no problem there. But to say that I'm not going to listen to it because it's low vibration, just is very presumptuous. And then even though I provide a little flippant answer for the Power versus Force, I did tell him that I read it, and I said thanks for the feedback and that I learned nothing new. So I could tell from my attitude that there was something there, again, around trust, since, this hierarchy, this scale, right, is also provided in Power versus Force. So I thought, isn't that interesting? So I've learned over some, years of training that when things like that show up in my space, to pay attention to them and to observe and to look deeper. So a combination of all those things: journaling, looking up words, having that on in the forefront of my mind, talking to you, all of that started to break up whatever I felt was keeping me stuck. And the biggest thing that I really got was that, I'm a control freak. So if I'm controlling things all the time, then there's no trust.
Right. Yeah. No, that's a very, very big distinction. Yes.
Yeah. And so that's pretty much like, so then I kept experimenting with it, being willing to trust, which is the progression, right? So being willing. And then the regression.
Yes, there you go. Yep.
What is the regression? Is courage. So I kept vacillating the last 2 weeks between all of that. And it was interesting to see. And I think that, I'm just, I'm not stuck there, but it's interesting to see what comes up for me,
Right. And since you've been kind of, and we did talk about that last time, how progressive trust is willingness or determination, and regressive trust puts you back into courage. So, you feel like you have to, almost take a hit, in other words, to make your voice known or to do something that, that is out of the ordinary, out of your comfort zone. So, so that's big. That's huge.
Yeah. And this whole idea, too, of that there's kind of like a line of demarcation or a line of departure from some of those vibratory emotions, and that at the higher levels, it's more of I need to cultivate those vibratory emotions rather than just kind of sitting back and thinking they're just a part of me, they'll just come forward. I noticed that I needed to cultivate and nurture and build a kind of a muscle around it to generate those higher vibrations.
Absolutely, yeah. And one thing that comes up for me, too, is it's called a map of consciousness for a reason, because if you can identify where you're at, you know where you can go. Exactly. Yeah. What came up for me a lot this week as well, too, as I'm moving forward, starting to explain a little bit about what I'm doing. I'm kind of describing the Karmic Margin Call project now as sort of like an education type of a business. So it's kind of like, I use these skills and facilitate these relationships just to educate about what a service market is. So I was talking to someone who I'd like to work with as far as, perfecting my copywriting and perfecting my writing. I told her, even though it's very much about economic reform and very much about, how to invest time in each other so that we can start to charge back that compounded interest onto the fractional reserve system, I realize the more and more I talk about that, the more I kind of shut people down and there's disconnect. So, my trust has been in that, I just explained to people, look, it's not about money. It really is not. It's about the relationship. The work is in cultivating the relationships and helping people get what they really want. And what they really want is to experience and learn how to train themselves to experience these higher vibrating emotions on a consistent basis. So I've been talking a lot about how the real work is in these relationships, to really be present during these relationships. It was interesting. A couple months ago, I was talking to another friend of mine. She's a personal training client of mine. And I told her about how you and I were, doing this workshop at Brown University, and that piqued her interest. She was very, very interested about that. So I told her a little bit about some of these emotionally intelligent dialogues that we start, and I told her a little bit about, how the Karmic Margin Call project works. And she wanted to introduce me to a group of people who are looking to reform the medical industry. So she said, why don't you write a letter of inquiry to this person and see if, we can get you involved with, some of the work we're doing with medical reform. So I came at it from the economic point of view, and, basically talking like an economist to someone, who is proficient in the medical field. It's two different languages. So I think I turned that particular person off. But we had I had a conversation with my friend later, and she said, yeah, it's kind of like, if you're talking jargon about a different industry, it's like you're talking a different language. But she says, the most important thing is, Mike, I trust you. I trust our conversations. I trust I trust your heart, and I trust what you want for the world. So it's the kind of thing like, oh, okay. So these conversations like we're having here is the real work, and whatever business structure or whatever is provided, through the stock book and through the Karmic Margin Call project, it's really just to help people understand the structure once the relationship is established. So the real work is in establishing these relationships and establishing these partnerships. Yeah. And that's what I trust.
That's really great. And you keep saying experience, and I just wanted to underscore something about that I've just noticed recently too. First, from a teacher from long time ago, not long time ago, but James Ray, who, always used to say, at the level of experience, there's no substitute. Reading about something, talking about something, watching something is not the direct experience, that there's no substitute for experience. And then recently, and that's really what I'm always after anyhow. It's not the material wealth, it's not the material objects, it's none of that stuff. It's really the experience of this kind of, quality of life or fullness in life. And just recently, there's been some conversation out there in the market about, are you an experience business? And so I asked even my colleague, Bob, with the Strategy Innovation Group, I said, I'm starting to think we're an experience business. Maybe we're not a consultancy. Maybe we're an experience business. And he said, that's interesting. Say more about that. And I said, well, we create experiences for people. We don't have a product that we sell. We gather people into a room, an environment, and we talk about things, and we give them an experience of what it is to boost their creativity, to, think innovatively. And so I think that's what where your head is, Mike, with the with what you just said. Sometimes when things are very, very new, you need to educate your audience just as much as, provide them with services, because they don't even know that they want what you have.
Absolutely. Yes.
And I think you're in the experience business for sure.
I believe so. I've been reframing a lot in terms of this. It's experiential education. So that's what the Karmic Margin Call project is. I get back to this idea that I'm not selling anything, I'm sharing information. So, we put together a $20 information package, which has a lot of high content stuff like these conversations and the stock book and all of that. And, once somebody starts to study that and starts to immerse themselves in that, they have the choice. So they might have spent $20 on what they thought was a product, an information product. But when they find out what it actually is, it becomes an investment in themselves, and they can invest in, their friends and their colleagues and their business partners. So, it's kind of like, you purchase this, this piece of paper that says it's a share of stock. As far as if you don't know what a stock is, you just bought a piece of paper. But when you realize that it's equity, it's an investment in a partnership, then, you realize, a year, maybe 2 years down the road, it might be double the value that you paid for it or more.
Exactly.
So that's the kind of thing where I'm looking at it from, we create this, as far as I'm concerned, what we're creating, through these conversations and, through the written materials and everything like that, we're creating easily, I think, a couple $100 worth of material, but you sell it as a $20 product, and people understand what it exactly is. It's not a purchase, it's an investment. That's huge. And then that's where you can start to understand what the content of that investment is. And I think another thing that comes up for me as well too is that, I'm done trying to do everything all in one shot. This is not a perfect, I mean, these conversations, they're not intended to be perfect. They're not intended to be a final product. It's the beginning of a conversation with our future partners. So it's kind of like, I trust, I'm talking a lot about trust right now. I trust that those listening, our partners who are listening right now, they understand that the intention is not to create perfection. It's not to create these perfect recordings or this perfect book that's in a business plan. It's about starting the conversation and asking, our partners, what do you see? What would you like to offer? How can we improve this? How can we create more experiences? Because I think that's what people really want now. They're finding out that material possessions or even success in business from a monetary perspective does not bring you the lifestyle that you want. And what we're doing is we're creating a different lifestyle experience, by having these conversations, with people who we really care about, we want to work with, and it really gives, the listener permission to start to design whatever career they want and to get paid lucratively for developing that. It's process, not product. So, yeah.
Very nice. Beautiful.
Cool. All right. If you don't mind, I'd like to start with willingness.
Go for it.
Okay, so we're going to go back to our repetition calibrations. So I would encourage anyone doing this particular one to start every question with start every statement with I'm willing to blank or I'm determined to blank. I'm going to use I'm willing. And it is important, I think, as you direct these repetitions, to start to find some action steps now. This is the time where you've done the work, you've done the inner work, and you're willing to take the next step, willing to take an action step. It's kind of like an extension of courage in a way. So I'm going to go into my repetition right now. So I am willing to cultivate my presence of mind. I am willing to continue to interact like this when it feels appropriate. I am willing to finish this recording today. I am willing to include it as part of this project, as part of this kit. I am willing to acknowledge how rare Marta is and how rare she is to be able to have conversations like this. I mean, it's like you're one in a million, Marta. You really are. I am willing to acknowledge her as a valued, precious, equal partner in all this. I'm willing to ask those who are listening right now I'm willing to ask better questions. I'm willing to ask whoever is listening to this right now to stop the recording and ask yourself some of these questions. I want to know, how can I, Mike, further serve you on what your intentions are? I want to have that conversation. I'm willing to have those conversations with you. I go back to I'm willing to ask better questions. I'm willing to ask you, whoever's listening right now, if you resonate with this question. What has your experience been like after participating in this activity? I'm willing to ask you to please, email me, contact me, let me know what the experience is. I'm willing to discuss that feedback, and I'm determined to find what correlations or what partners we can put you with. So that feels good. That feels complete. So that's my willingness statement. So Marta, I'll turn it over to you, ask you what you heard, and then I'll have you do the same thing.
I heard willingness.
Yes.
Loud and clear, for sure, and willingness to, what I really appreciate, because I resonate with it, is willing to ask the kinds of questions of people so that we can understand, or individually or collectively, we can understand what does the person really need, what motivates them.
Yes, absolutely.
Instead of just always trying to guess or throw, promotional copy at people and hope that they'll, like what we have to offer. But this idea of what I heard in everything that you said, the idea of feeling confident in just hanging out in nothing with someone, and then generating and cultivating, statements, questions, and understanding, and not arrive with an agenda. So agenda-less. That's what I heard in everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. All right, go for it. I'm willing.
Okay, I am
or I'm
willing. Or I'm determined. Yeah, sometimes it does occur like determined. I'm determined. Okay, so I'll start with that one. I'm determined
Perfect.
to take a good percentage of all the ideas that I either generate or that other people generate and make them happen in the world. I'm determined, and I'm willing to do that. I do see that as part of a purpose or mission here. We talked, you and I, about life path numbers. I'm a life path number 9 in this lifetime, and I'm becoming more and more willing to embrace that I'm here to serve others. So, and I'm determined to make that a success. And I'm also willing to let go of the death grip that I have on control that stops me from trusting. And really, I'm willing to give up that I'm in control. I'm determined to discover what higher force or energy or spirit is guiding my life. I'm willing to trust the intelligence of my heart, and I'm determined to not necessarily ignore my brain, but not entertain the thoughts, especially the debilitating ones and the negative ones. I'm determined and willing to not entertain them as much as I used to, so that I can do all I can do. I'm willing to do hard work, and I'm willing and I'm determined to learn and master skills, abilities, competencies that will support me in supporting other people. And what I mean by that is, I love working with people and their creativity, and part of what comes up for them sometimes is, financial issues or revenue, and I'm determined to explore and willing to put myself in situations and explore what needs to happen so that we're all collectively successful, because I'm willing to believe that what I want for myself, I want for others. And that feels really complete. It felt complete saying determined, because that to me is like a resolve. I'm willing to accept this as my mission and purpose in life.
Okay.